Okay, wow. So this is my first time thinking about it. Well, thinking about this. It's my first time trying to do a recording for a commentary video. So I've always thought about doing commentary for a while, just to get some quick ideas off my head and maybe just make a video and to see what other people think about it and just get some engagement to review that. Bounce some ideas off other people's heads. I see a lot of people doing commentary, and I think, well, I mean, maybe I'd like to share some thoughts out there. And some of the commentary these days is a bit more philosophical, maybe self-helpish. And I thought, well, why don't I take my own stab at that? And I've been seeing some things about lately that have been bothering me, especially as of late, maybe because I'm getting older. I mean, we're always getting older, but in this case, I was hitting more milestones in my life, but I'm seeing other people not realizing certain things about their lives. This was mostly prompted by a real life situation that I had witnessed involving a YouTuber, actually. That YouTuber is by the name of Chibi Reviews. Now, originally, when I was about to make this video, the story at the time was still fresh. I didn't get all the details, but this guy, Chibi Reviews, notable anime reviewer, right? Kind of a character. Got a lot of hate. I didn't like him particularly either. My friend just said, like, "Yo, bro, did you hear what happened?" I'm like, I don't know what happened to him, right? Tell me what happened, right? So I listened to what happens. Like, apparently this guy was engaged to his fiance for a few years, dating her for like 10 years, I think, I believe. And apparently she just up and left him for his best friend. And apparently she'd been, smashing him for 10 years and behind his back. And I was like, whoa, buddy. Apparently, and all the friends in Chibi's so-called friend group sided with the girl, the fiance, and the guy. And I was thinking to myself, like, whoa, this is just complete rug pull, everything like that. And he apparently spiraled, as you would, obviously. Completely spiraled, almost killed himself completely. And this guy's in a precarious position. And I was asking my friend, like, what happened here? How did this happen? Why did this happen? Because, you ask questions like these. So my friend revealed as much as he could at the time. I'm not sure if he's clear or 100% right, but as far as I could say, it seemed like his friend group didn't respect him or didn't like him that much. He was kind of a joke. And I said, huh. Was he the, how do you say it, class clown, or in this case, the group tard, where they bully this person, and he's the subject of all jokes. All the comedy revolves around his suffering. Everything's at his expense. He is the comedy, even despite having the fiance and everything. Apparently, I found out the reasons was more ridiculous. Story's still not going on. I don't care about this YouTube, but this idea I thought was fertile ground for the prompt I had in mind afterwards, which was, how do people really view you? And are you okay with that? I don't know if Chibi knew at the time how he was viewed. Apparently, hindsight is 2020, and apparently this guy was a cuck and he was enjoying this, but then again, that could be more misinformation. I don't know for sure, but I guess this guy's misfortune isn't the most relevant part of this video. It's more so about how you're viewed by your associates, your friends, your family, etc. People often, I'm sure, think about this, obsess about this, but do they really think about what that means and why the people around them think in such a way, or why are they with them if they think of them in a way that they might not like? Or why are they still sticking around if they think about them in a way that's not so positive? Just a fertile bed of questions, just worth considering. For example, if I know I'm not liked, or if I'm not appreciated in that group, I just cut, I leave. But that's something I learned with experience. That's something I learned with time. I have a bit of a troublesome personality, so I understand that I might alienate others, or I alienate myself by my own actions. But I also know enough grace not to be around people who don't appreciate my, don't appreciate my presence, and often have to grit their teeth to bear me. To be fair, I wish they would just tell me if they didn't like me, but, people have a hard time vocalizing their direct thoughts, and plus, they still have some consideration where they don't want to just outright say it. Although, to be fair, is there a nice way to say, I don't like you and I don't want to be around you? Probably not. Although, would I do the same? Yeah, actually, I have done the same. And needless to say, when I tell people I do the same, they look at me like I'm nuts. But I guess one story that I could give in particular was, I remember I used to play at a friend's house. He used to live down the street from me. Not too far. Him and his siblings were there. I'd always go to his house and fool around. And, he was younger than me. In fact, his siblings were younger than me, funnily enough. And I was older because I was a little bit socially maladjusted, pretty autistic. These kids were in middle school, and I was hanging around them in high school, which is in hindsight, kind of peculiar, but I guess I was so, how do you say it, infantilized? Young at heart? I don't know what to say, but that's what I was. And I would hang around them and I'd play games, but they often were offended by the fact that I had immature taste. I was still playing Pokemon at that age. Well, these kids were trying to play Call of Duty and everything like that. I didn't care for COD. Finally, I didn't care for COD. They just thought I was a bit of a weird kid, and they didn't like me. I remember one time, things were growing frostier gradually. I didn't notice apparently, but apparently they were growing frostier. Until one day, I just, showed up, knocked on the door, and just said, I just wanted to chill, see what was going on. So knocked on the door. My friend came out, and he kind of sheepishly looked at me, and he kind of like looked in. He's like, "Oh, hey Jesse, how you doing?" And I'm like, "Hey, how's it going? You mind if I come in and play some games?" And he's like, "Just give me a second." And he, I heard him stomp up the stairs, because it was one of those duplexes, right? One of those duplexes. And he asked his siblings, and I could hear them clearly. Weirdly enough, my hearing was very sharp at that one moment. And they were screaming, "No, no, no, don't let him in, don't let him in. We don't want him here, we don't want him here." And then, I don't know if you could tell I heard or not. I kept a straight face, despite that situation. And he opened the door and said, "Sorry, man, maybe not today, maybe another time." And yeah, I didn't go back. They moved away eventually, but I never went back. I never visited that house again. And funnily enough, I ran into my friend's parents, and they said, "Oh, hey, Jesse, it's been so long. Why haven't you come around lately?" And I said, "Oh, just busy with school and stuff like that, and with my family." And they're like, "Oh, that's very nice. It's glad that you're putting some more time where it counts." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay. Why don't you come by at sometime?" I said, "Oh, sure, whenever, right? Just to not refuse them and be rude about it." And they're like, "What about now?" I said, No, I can't come today. I'm sorry, but thank you." Weirdly, I was able to keep it under control and not spaz out or just act very emotional about it or insert myself in a situation where I didn't belong. If I wasn't wanted, there's no point in putting yourself around people who didn't want you there that badly. Now, granted, kids are honest. Kids will tell you how they really feel so directly. So I guess in a way I was thankful that I didn't waste time on people that didn't like me that much. A bit heavy to hit people with such a heavy experience off the start, but that's just to give an example of at least I didn't get cucked. Yeah, it was one of those moments, and I was like, and it's something I apply generally in my life. Like, if I wasn't appreciated somewhere, I made sure not to hang around. There's no point being around somewhere with people who don't appreciate you. There's nothing, and to be honest, whenever I find out, like I've been associating with people for a while and they don't like me, I feel a weird sense of betrayal, or like I've been backstabbed, or I've been lied to, or that my entire time with this person, whatever moments I thought were pleasant, were just a complete lie. Now, as I get older, I realize that there's a bit more complicated than that. Even people who don't like you can have good times with you, weirdly enough, or have weirdly precious moments with you, or weird moments that live in both parties' heads as moments that stand out for weirdly significant way. But I guess to move on to the final part I'd like to mention, another final example involving someone else I know personally. Now, there's an associate of mine, friend. Well, I mean, he's more of an associate now because I'm mad at him. He is weirdly obsessed with being the center of attention. I mean, I know, considering what I know about his childhood, I'm not too surprised. But, he is obsessed with the attention. He needs validation for everyone. Guys who beat him up, he still wants validation from them. He was willing to forgive people who beat him up. And you think, oh, what a terrible guy. No, it's not because he's a forgiving soul. He actually holds grudges and is very driven by vendettas. But the interesting thing is he needs validation so much. And, me and another friend were saying, like, hey, buddy, like, come on, man. You don't need to... These people don't like you. Why are you bothering waste your time with it? Just spend time with, like, the people around you. And, for God's sake, this man has a wife. You have a wife. What else do you need to have? You only have, yeah, sure, you need friends, but, like, you got a wife. You got enough to spend time at home with. That's your future right there. I mean, you got your friends, your boys, and etc. like that. But no, this guy loves his boys. He's one of those guys who's more in love with his boys than is with his wife. But that's a separate issue that I can't even begin to unpack. But, Buddy just is. We tell him like, and and the people have expressed we don't like this guy. And one guy's even like, I hate his guts. I absolutely despise him. And then he goes out and seeks his validation, and he can't tell that this person is being frosty with him. And this person tries to just tell him and express with him in every possible way to show that he hates him, despises him, without just saying it straight to his face. And of course, he doesn't want to alienate other people in this so-called friend group we have, right? And Buddy just can't get the memo. He can't, or dare I say, he won't get the memo. As we get older, maybe some people lack that self-awareness, but there's cases where people won't realize they are not appreciated, they are unwanted, and they are not a wanted commodity. People around them don't want anything to do with them. They leave group chats that he adds them into all the time. He's like, oh, geez, I wonder what their problem is. Come on, man, you know better, but yet you still insist. And people can tell you straight to their face, like, I don't like you, I hate you, I don't want to know you. They make fun of you to your face, but you still hang around because you want validation so much. This is an interesting final contrast. We have the person who is the punching bag or is the hated one, and they either stick around until they get finally just booted out, or in the case like me where I could stick around, but I didn't, thankfully. And then there's this third person, this acquaintance of mine, who, no matter what, always will insert himself in the center of attention, will always want to be there around people, because he needs people. He's such an extrovert that he needs attention, he needs validation, he needs to be around people at all possible times of the day, at every possible situation. I think to myself, like, God, where's your self-respect as a man? Not to make this about machismo, but I could, yet straight up, a lot of mans are saying, like, I could never. And I'm with them saying, I could never. I mean, when you're reaching past your 20s, and you left high school and the university life behind, and you're an adult, working adult, and for God's sake, like in his case, married, you need to mature and realize, like, man, I want to be with the people who cherish me. I want to be with people who love me. People who don't have such flighty relationships built on such fragile foundations, Such cases and such situations, right? That's what you should want. That's what you should desire. But it seems like guys going into their 30s still don't get it. Or maybe they don't want to get it. Maybe they're so ruled by their past inadequacies or traumas that they seek out validation through these fake relationships. And I don't mean the fake in the sense of, like, we all know it's fake. It's like either they want to know or they don't want to know. And they're living in such an unhealthy manner, right? You should always be considered, like, obviously, it's one thing to say, I'm going to live my own life, live my own view. I don't care what nobody think of me. I can do my own thing, right? But I think you should have some acknowledgement of how people view you and where you stand with some people. Because at the end of the day, people invest in you and you invest in them. And you should know where your investment's going to be worthwhile. Not to, like, commodify relationships, but, when you put time into a girl, you're going to probably eventually marry that girl and build a family with her. That's why you put time in her. Or maybe you're not going to have a family with her. But if you're going to have a life partner, right? That's the same thing. Same thing with your boys, right? Not all your boys are good boys, right? Some of them are entertaining, but they're not reliable people. So you want to rely on reliable people. Who cares if they're not fun or they're boring, a little bit square or something like that? You do that, right? And you want to know that people around you rely on you. They love you. They cherish you. And you want to actively select for that. You got life is hard. It'll get hard, and it might get harder. And look at the way things are going, it could be getting harder real fast, or it has been hard. Are you really gonna go through life with a suboptimal, like, arsenal? Arsenal meaning your boys, your skills, all the resources you got, a family. And unfortunately, our family, as much as we love and care for them, their time's limited. So whatever friends you make, and that's your future family. That's all that's gonna have for you in the future, right? If you don't got kids or anything like that too, right? You take care of your family, and they'll take care of you for the most part. But eventually, you got to take care of them, and who's gonna be there for the hard times? You gotta know who's gonna be there for the hard times. And funnily enough, Buddy, this acquaintance of mine, whenever hard times are going on, none of these guys are there. And we tell him, like, me and my other friend tell him, like, they're not going to be there for you. No, they're going to be there for me. What proof do you have? No, because they're my boys. So you can say they're your boys, but doesn't mean that they are your boys. You can say she loves me, doesn't mean she loves you. You can say I'm cherished, but does not mean you're cherished. Well, at least in terms of other people. Granted, you can do all these things for yourself, and you could probably make that true in due time. But, just as, in conclusion, this is what I'd like to say. This is what I'm spinning out. This is my first attempt at a commentary video, so please, if you can, just let me know what you thought in the comments. I appreciate any insight you have to offer, and I hope to make more of these. I actually kind of enjoy just rambling in the mic about people and situations I see, because there's too many crazy things going on in there, and I have to get this off my chest somehow. Who needs therapy when you got podcasts with your boys and commentary videos and strangers online to hear it? Within conclusion, I hope everyone takes care and has a good one. Bye-bye.